I'm going to keep track of who's answering, so you might want to unmute yourself. Because right now I can only see, I have my screen on another screen, so I don't see you guys. So make sure I can hear you. Okay. All right. Trivia question number 1. Are we ready? I don't hear anybody.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker, we are.
What? You are?
I'm not. They are. You can tell they are.
Whatever. Okay, let's do this. All right, so we'll start easy. Okay, number 1. Who is the protagonist of the Hunger Games? Anybody remember?
Katniss.
I've never read that.
Same. I don't know.
No way. You guys have not seen or read the Hunger Games.
Nope.
Never read it, but watched the movies.
Well, you watched
Dude,
the movies, right? Well, you know
No.
what the protagonist is. No.
No.
Somebody
Nobody
said
got
it a
that.
minute ago.
Nobody got. Who got that?
Real did.
Real. Okay, I'm writing her name down here.
Yeah.
Real Turtle, they both got a point. They both said it.
Okay. All right, got them both. All right. Ready for the next one? All right, here we go. Number 2. Well, I don't know, Shakespeare people here? We'll see.
Real.
Is she?
Yes, I don't like Shakespeare.
Okay, we'll see. Which of the Shakespeare's plays features a sorcerer named Prospero? Anybody know? I'll give you choices.
Yes.
Is it the Tempest, Macbeth, A Midsummer's Night's Dream, or The Twelfth Night?
It's
Ooh, who said that? Nicholas?
yeah.
You said The Tempest? Look at you. Look at you. Good job. That's right. Okay, number 3. What is the best-selling novel of all time? Is it Harry Potter, The Hobbit, Don Quixote, or Moby Dick?
Harry Potter.
Moby Dick.
I don't know.
Who said Moby Dick? Let's see if it's Moby Dick. Oh, no.
Darn.
Harry Potter.
I already gave you the buzzer. Did you hear it?
No.
I gave you the Xbox.
No.
Anybody have any other guesses? So you have The Hobbit.
Is
or
it The
Don
Hobbit?
No.
This is the last one. This last choice.
Don Quixote.
Yeah!
Yay, I got it.
No, Miss
Woohoo!
Rhodes, you don't count.
Out.
Just kidding, Miss Rhodes.
Bullying. You're bullying me again.
No.
I hear it. I hear it. Okay, so
No.
let's see what Stephen King fans we got out there. Which Stephen King novel takes place mostly in the fictional Overlook Hotel?
In the what?
In a fictional Overlook Hotel.
Overlook.
Is
I
it The
don't-
Shining, It, Doctor
The
Sleep,
Shining.
or Salem's Lot?
The Shining.
Shining?
The Shining.
Well, you got it right. Good job.
Dude, this is not fair. I don't read.
Well, there are movies too. Shining's a
Well, I don't watch that much movies.
I only watch movies I encounter.
counter.
Gotta expand your horizons a little bit.
8. All right, one more. Well, I'm gonna go with this one. Okay, so What novel is set on a desert planet inhabited by giant sandworms? Is it Foundation, An Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, Stranger in a Strange Land, or Dune?
I'm gonna say Dune.
Brittany, I'm going to give that to you because you were first.
Oh yes.
Yay!
So I just guessed, guys.
Well, I did
Sounded
too on that
right.
one because I had no idea, but you like, oh, sandworms, desert planet, that's got to be Dune. So,
I'm freaking smart.
yeah. Okay, going on. Hey, you guys, remember those notes we were taking last week? I'm sure you do, but we're going to get to it. Notes from last week, we're just going to go in there in a few and just fill in some blanks here on those. So open those up. It'll be it'll be under that assignment. If you submitted and I did not return it to you, that's what it'll show it. But so make sure that you unsubmit that assignment. I got most of your grades. Sometimes I just didn't return it. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. I forget. Because it's not actual done grade yet because there's like 4 assignments on that post. So anyway, so make sure you unsubmit this if you didn't already. If I returned it to you, it would be already there for you to open. Okay. Okay, so you need to open up the notes again. Everybody with me? And if you didn't get the notes last week, I think most of them are fairly completed. So you got them now, maybe. All right, so when you open up the notes, okay. I need you to go down to under theme. We took those last week, we got those, but I do want you to just go to the setting. I didn't add those last week, so. Does everybody have everything that I have on my screen? Do we match? I can't remember if it automatically just updated on your side or not. So.
I have to request edit access to edit mine.
It won't let me click on it, but I can see it.
Mine doesn't show that stuff.
It doesn't show this, so
Nope.
it's just from your old one, like from
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay. I can go back and edit. Just make sure, we're just going to talk about this real quick. But so under setting, you know, there's 2 main definitions to setting. What are they? What does it involve? Make sure you get this down if you don't know. Setting of a story, no, like, so like that example 1, it says Cinderella is a young girl long ago in the past. Okay, well, that's talking about.
Place and time.
Yeah, there you go, real. Good job. So 2 definitions of setting that you need to make sure you have. Okay, time and place and time. Okay, time and place of a story. Okay, so, and of course, there's that example 1, has the time period, has the place, Cinderella's home in a kingdom far away. There's the place. And if we need to know that because the story changes and it skips like 10 years into the future. So we kind of have to understand that setting to understand the next part of the story. Example 2 there, it says, as the sun set in the evening sky, Malcolm slowly turned and walked toward his home. All was silent and still. Through the window, he could see his older brother James watching a football game on the TV. James was home from his first year of college in the city. It was lonely at times, but Malcolm felt it was rather nice to be in James's shadow during his senior year of high school. Okay, time period. What would be the time period of that? We know that we got a sun set in the evening sky. So one of the time periods would be like the evening time, right? We know, oh, he's watching a football game on TV. All right, so it's probably a little, you know, we could call it modern day because there's TV, all right? Another piece of time period, it's his senior year. So James's shadow during his senior year of high school. Okay, so it's the senior year of high school. So there's 3 pieces of time period there that we could capture in that paragraph, okay? So if we looked at place on Malcolm walked toward his home. Okay, so we got Malcolm's home. There's place. Anything else that we could capture from place? All was silent and still. Through the window, he could see his older brother. Okay, is it silent and still in the city? The sun set in the evening sky, so the sky is very prevalent. It's silent and still. It was lonely at times. Malcolm felt it better, nicer. Okay, so if I were going to call attention to whether this kid lived in the city or the country or type of thing, I would probably go for the country type of thing or suburb, since it's, you know, there's some indication, silent, still, lonely. You can see the evening sky. Those are things that you take notice of more or less in the country or the suburbs. So, all right, going on. Make sure you have the time and place. Okay, we're going on to way down here. We talked about metaphor. We need to put in on symbolism, guys. So make sure you look at the symbolism definition here. It says it's the use of symbols to blank ideas or qualities bigger than themselves. What's the key word to symbolism? That's the blank there. Anybody know? The use of symbols to blank ideas or qualities bigger than themselves. What would that word be?
Represent.
Yes.
Reveal.
Good job, man. Way to go, Michael. So represent is your big word there. So make sure you have part of that definition there to understand what symbolism is. Hopefully you already know what that means, but just make sure you have that part of that definition there. That way you'll know it later and be able to use it, because you're going to use it, of course, in the poems you got assigned. Okay, so stemming from that definition, there's a little bit of an example there. Talks about examples from Harry Potter, just about his scar. Did we talk about this one last week? It seems like I went through this one with you guys last week. Harry Potter's scar is symbolic of bravery. Albus Dumbledore's name is symbolic of his personality, because Dumbledore means bumblebee in Old English. So, and he was known to symbolize a white wizard, and that's what Albus means, is white. White wizard usually correlates with good.
Or he's a white bumblebee.
Yeah. If you begin Shakespeare as you like it, he uses the big picture of the world, symbolizes to a smaller scale, which is the stage. Meanwhile, the players are symbols of people in the world. All right, those are 2 good examples of symbolism. All right, going down, make sure you understand what similes are. I know that you guys have worked with similes a lot in your schoolhood life.
Similarity.
So making similarities.
Showing resemblance between 2 different things.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect, perfect. Or you could say makes a similarity showing a comparison, or you could makes a comparison showing similarities between two different things. Okay. Always forget letters. Makes a comparison showing similarities. What words does it use? What's those common
Like
words?
or as.
Job. Good for me. Like or as. Okay. That's a difference between a metaphor and simile, of course. Metaphors don't often use like or as, but it doesn't mean that a simile is not a metaphor, because metaphors are the bigger device, and simile is kind of a branch. So, okay, going on. The house is as clean as a new car straight from the lot, and of course you see the word as in there. That makes a comparison between the house and the car. So you guys should have those examples there on your page. So personification, personifying objects is fun when you're writing. You may not think so, but you know, I do.
It's kind of like a simile because you're comparing something.
Using, it is. You're comparing something, but we're using what kind of qualities?
Living. Lifelike.
Inanimate qualities. Okay, so we're using which in animal we can use figure of speech was an animal, inanimate object. You know, like a phone. All right, my phone just walked away. So a phone is an inanimate object, so it's not actually human, and we're giving it legs as it walked away like a human would. Okay, so we're giving it human qualities, right? Spell it right. Okay, just make sure you got those down. All right, good. Harry heard the cheesecake calling his name. Okay, so we're using cheesecake as that object and giving it a voice like human.
Well, if this is Harry Potter, then that could actually happen.
Yeah, you're true. I mean, that's true. Agreed. Hyperbole. What's a big keyword for hyperbole?
Exaggeration.
Oh. All right, make sure you understand that. Hyperboles use exaggeration, okay, to express emphasis. Guys, just because that definition, paraphrase, just make sure you get the key words. You could put down exaggeration for the point of emphasis. So if you just have that much down on your definition, that's great. Just make sure you get those key things in there. Okay, alliteration. Hyperbole. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. What's the exaggeration there? What's the hyperbole? Might know? Little Franklin D. Roosevelt said that, but you might know what the hyperbole is. Why is it considered a hyperbole?
It could be because like he's exaggerating to make his point.
Okay, and he's using fear, okay? Fear is actually scared of fear, which would be pretty astounding, okay, to happen if he, you know, that's what's happening here, and that's kind of the point there. So, yep. Okay, alliteration. Alliteration, all those nursery rhymes and things, I hope that you were read to when you were little. A lot of it uses alliteration, okay? Dr. Seuss uses a lot of alliteration. Okay, when it's that repetition of sounds in the line. So example, but a better butter makes a better. Of course, that's just a little bit of a line from that nursery rhyme.
Would it be? Would another one be? She sells seashells by the seashore.
Yep, you got that sound repeating.
They're like
Yep.
tongue ties, basically.
They're like tongue twisters, and that's what makes a tongue twister is those initial sounds repeat. So, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That one.
Oof.
Okay, so that's what those are, and that's what makes a good tongue twister in those nursery rhymes is that alliteration device. So. Okay. Questions, complaints yet?
Nope.
Yay. Okay, last one I want you to put down is illusion. Make sure you know what illusion is. It's not illusion, like a magical show. It's allusion. Keyword to illusion. Anybody want to assist me in that? Anybody remember what that is? Keyword to illusion. Figure of speech that references. It's a reference. Okay.
Okay.
Reference of a historical event, person. You know, we often talk about, you know, man, you shake like Elvis Presley. Of course, you guys probably don't have no clue who Elvis Presley is anymore, but anyway, that would be an illusion because we're giving reference to an historical figure, in this case, a singer. Okay, so another one, a lot of times allusions are biblical thing, mythology, like Seuss, you know, you lift as much as Seuss or Hercules. So allusions are often references of mythology. Here's another one. Mildred ran from the parlor like a native, fleeing an eruption of Vesuvius. Vesuvius is that volcano that destroyed Pompeii. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of Pompeii. They dug that up, excavated it some years ago, and found the whole city there in Italy. So
Yep.
that was that volcano that covered it up primarily. So she's running, so she must be like, she's like running faster than she ever had before. So it's giving this reference of this volcano, okay, from Pompeii. That's an allusion. Okay, questions? Complaints yet?
Nope.
Good. All right, moving on. We're going to go back out of here and we need to go to the host. All right, sympathy. Did anybody have any questions on that assignment?
Mm-mm.
Good.
I don't think so.
Mr. Dunbar, he was actually a pretty famous African American, because both of his parents were slaves, and then he actually went to a white school, and which wasn't done because he was, I mean, his life was like 1870s, so that just wasn't done back there then, but he was like a prodigy writer. Okay, so anyway, so of course, you know, he had a lot of emotional stances on the slavery business, so of course, which is expressed in his poem Sympathy. Okay, so, and it denotes, you know, how the, you know, to place that sympathy towards this bird that's caged up and its struggles to want to be free. And of course, it's metaphorically compared to a slave that just wants to be free, and they sing to be free. You know, they don't sing because they're happy. They're singing because they want to be free, and they're just trying to get through that time as a family. And a lot of emotional stanzas in his poem. Okay. Just make sure that you
I
this
do have a question.
please ask.
Okay, so why do your notes and stuff look different from mine?
On sympathy?
Yeah, like
Yeah, I don't
right,
have any of that stuff either.
what
I don't
we
think.
have, what we have is different, but what you have on here, we don't have that on the assignment that we did, because those aren't the questions that we answered.
Let me go back to here to
Those are the questions I answered.
what you probably did was the caged bird.
Yeah, I answered that questions too.
Some of you did that. Some of you did go ahead and did the caged bird. And sympathy is the one that that I assigned. Some of you went ahead and did the caged bird instead. I saw that, so I didn't put any grades. I only graded empty stomach because there was, you know, probably some confusion of how the order.
Weren't we only supposed to do empty stomach?
I wanted you to do the sympathy poem, but if you didn't, I'm not gonna.
I did sympathy, and I'm pretty sure I finished empty stomach, but I don't think I finished caged. No, I think I finished caged bird, but I'm not sure. One of them I didn't finish. I know that part.
Okay,
I
that's
did
okay.
all 3 of them.
Okay, and that's okay. Some of you did them all already, so that's why I didn't. And I have all those due dates. And some of you haven't done empty stomach yet. There's a couple of you haven't done that one yet. So, guys, just if you have any questions on those, empty stomach especially, you know, when, you know, if you miss the Zoom or you look through it and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, send me an email. Don't be afraid to ask Miss Boats and Miss Hannah as well, because that's what we're here for. So don't be afraid to do that, because this is hard to do your assignments with. So, but let's go to sympathy. Just make sure there's any questions on that. I'm just going to briefly go through that because some of you have already done it. I don't want to take up too much time here on this. Okay, so sympathy, that was the second one that I assigned, and I didn't go through this with you guys. I just said, okay, go ahead and do it, try it, see how you do, see how you comprehend it, okay? So that first line, I know what the caged bird feels, alas. Now that part right there is what we talked about was elevated fiction, okay? Alas is something that you don't use. All right, that's something from Old English school that, you know, they used a lot, and it's more or less expressing the depression, the torment, okay, of this caged bird. And it's like, I finally know what it feels like because I've been there. Okay, so Dunbar is actually speaking through this bird, okay, as what it feels like to be a slave. Okay, he wasn't actually a slave himself; his parents were, but I mean, he sees it all around him. He knows from being in, being Black himself, how hard it is and how oppressed he is by being in that, by being in this culture and this time and trying to make a living, okay? And he was one of them that actually did make a living, which was rare on his own. And he gained a lot of recognition for his writing, so, which was rare as well. So, alas is an elevated diction word because it's not used anymore, and it's used there to really denote the oppression that they faced. Okay. So it says, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the spring grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass. When the first bird sings in the first bud, opes. Opes is a word that is replacing opens. Okay, again, we're talking a little bit of Old English. And the faint perfume from its chalice steals. I know what the caged bird feels. Chalice is more or less a cup, a fancy goblet. Okay. I know why the caged bird beats his wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars. So like if you're imprisoned and you know that you're not supposed to be there, and you just, you're trying everything to get out and be free like you should be, that's what he's metaphorically comparing to here, is this bird that just, it's bloody now from trying to get out of its cage. This cruel bars that are, in other words, the bars is more or less the people that, the masters, so to speak, that he has to work for, okay? For he must fly back to his perch and cling when the fane would be on the bough of a swing, and the pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. And keener means, he's learned a lot from his, from being in this cage, this world of slavery. And he knows that, if he does anything wrong, these old scars, that's probably he's been beaten, he's been whipped, okay? So he knows that there's just no way out. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore. When he beats his bars and he would be free, it is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. Okay, so you see this last line, and the first line repeats. Okay, so he's learned a lot from, being caged up, but he still sings, for hopefully he might gain freedom. He's still trying to be optimistic, but he also sings to just keep his sanity, all right? So, but that repetition that's used throughout, okay, I know why the caged bird sings, is emphasizing that he knows that there's just no way out. There's just going to be blood and horror and beatings for him if he does escape or tries.
It kind of feels like Mr. Dunbar is using the bird as a simile, like something to compare himself to a bird without actually putting himself like you know what I'm saying?
Hmm?
Yeah.
That's right. That's really what it is. The whole thing is a metaphor, if you notice that.
Well, you can be caged like a bird, and if you're free like a bird.
Yeah.
Right.
But also basically in one of the stanzas, he's basically saying what the bird says is the bird would rather die and go to heaven than stay another day being caged. He would rather beat himself up to the part where he's bloody than give up and be caged.
Yes. Perfect. That's a good view. It's definitely these wounds, these scars that he's had. It's just, he'll keep trying, and he'll keep, when he beats his bars and he would be free, it is not a carol of joy or glee. That's true. And he's trying to plead to heaven, whether to die, to go to heaven, or be free. I agree with you. He's just trying to, his whole heart, to be free. And yes, he would rather be in heaven than be caged up here. So good job, good thoughts. So the whole thing, as you notice, is what we call that extended metaphor. Okay? The whole thing is comparing that caged bird to a slave and how it just wants to be free or die and go to heaven. So, okay. So going back, So if you're looking at this on the actual work here on the poem, okay? So elevated diction is that alas that I talked about, okay? Another word for chalice, again, is like a cup, a goblet. And the faint perfume of its chalice stills, like, you know, a container that perfume is in. So that's what that is. What word for keener? Keener is what did we talk about? These became, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. So these old scars, they pulse. This pain from these old scars, they pulse again with a keener sting.
Stronger, more painful.
Okay, everything's more painful because he's became
So sharper.
Yeah, he's became wiser or more sharp about what he needs to do and how he needs to react. And yes, he doesn't want to feel that pain or that brutality. And he just, so keener means, you know, and anyone, you know, when you've been in a circumstance where abuse, you know, or you've been beating, you just kind of, you give up because you know that, what do I do? And that's how he's became keener. He just gets bloodier and bloodier as he tries to escape the circumstances. Okay, the speaker of the poem says, did everybody find this lesson, I hope, on sympathy? We all good now? You just did the wrong one? Hope so. The speaker of the poem says, I know why the bird beats his wing on the cruel bars. Why does the bird beat his wings? What evidence supports your conclusion? Anybody have any questions on that? Isn't he's struggling to be free, right? He's struggling to get free and trying to, I mean, he'd rather, like you guys said, he'd rather go to heaven. He'd rather die, okay? He'd rather be this, there's a place where it says he'd rather be this tree branch. Where's that at? I know I his wings, for he must fly back to his perch and cling when he would feign to be about swinging. Would it be when he fain would be on a bough, a swing? So he'd rather be this bough, a swing is kind of like a branch of a tree. He'd just rather be on that tree branch than on his perch, because a perch is within a cage. So if you're going to find a piece of evidence right here where it says, for he must fly back to his perch and cling, when he'd rather be on a bough, a swing, which is actually referring to a tree branch. So there's your evidence.
What does feign?
Feign means like you just don't give up, like you just. Okay. It's 10:40. Okay, you guys. What the bird is praying for when he sings, and what's he praying for? On number 4. He's praying for what? He wants out, right? He wants out on that branch. He wants to be free. Okay? Praying for that freedom. Okay, I'll go over we got multiple choice. Tone, remember the tone of the poem is the attitude, okay? What's the attitude or the tone of the poem?
I feel it's more like it's sorrowful
Nice
than
job.
anything.
You're right, good job.
Because, like, the bird is trapped and he's caged.
Bird is hopelessly trapped.
And he doesn't want to be trapped. So he will beat his wings in his chest against the bars until he bleeds and he's hurt and he's broken. But he would rather do that or pray that he goes to heaven than let himself be caged.
Good job. Nice job. The first stanza, Dunbar uses a simile to compare which of the following. So if we look at the first stanza,
It would be C,
It's
because
C.
he's comparing a flow from the river to a stream of glass.
good job. Good job. And he uses like here to make that comparison. I'll go over number 7 and then we will stop for the day. The opening and closing lines of each stanza are examples of what technique? Hyperbole, metaphor, or repetition?
Would it be repetition?
Yep. Repeats itself. And you notice that every first line of each stanza repeats that same line. So. Okay. There are, I hope that I went over the main, some of the answers that you can answer the rest. And number 10, I went over the extended metaphor a little bit, okay? Just give me evidence that supports that extended metaphor. You're talking about this caged bird to a slave, okay? So number 10 essay question is you're just explaining why the caged bird does sing and support it with evidence, okay? And of course, you remember he's singing because he just wants to be free. Okay, so just find a line of evidence to support that and explain his extended metaphor there. Okay, any questions, you guys? Anything you wanna, anything else? Okay, so
I was actually gonna say that, let you know that none of my assignments had been returned.
when if they're not returned, you just have to unsubmit it. Okay, so you guys, I need you, well, sometimes I won't return it, I'll comment on it and post a comment. I'll always do that, and you'll get that on your email, but sometimes I don't return it. But if you haven't used Google Classroom, if it's not returned to you, you'll just go back in there and unsubmit. Okay, that's how you do that. So what you guys need to do, finish up the sympathy, okay? Finish up sympathy. There is the caged bird, okay? That is very similar. Maya Angelou actually took off. She just kind of stemmed from Dunbar's poem to rewrite it in her terms, so to speak. So The first stanza, very optimistic, very, you know, lots of great images going on here about the bird floating downstream. It dips its wing in the orange sun rays and it dares to claim the sky. Lots of optimistic, very positive connotations. And then in the second stanza, it goes into very, I guess, negative connotations. It's bars of rage. We're talking about a bird now in a cage, and it's bars of rage. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, just like slaves were tied to the chains. Okay, so as you read, it gives you a different glimpse of the caged bird. But again, it's really tying to the same theme that it's really, you know, so longs, it yearns for this freedom that it can't have. So very much along the same theme, guys, just a little different wording, a little bit different take on the caged bird. And when you get through that, which you'll go back into the assignment, it says a caged bird. And there's questions that correlate with the caged birds. There is also another poem by Dickinson. It's really not based on slavery, or so to speak. It's just a little bit different take on ourselves and how things are not normal. And so when you get through the caged bird questions, this is more of an overall that I want to go through, and I'll go through some of this next week. So if you want to go through and look at that and respond to that, that's great. But I don't want to torture you with homework or anything. So get through with sympathy and the caged bird questions 1 through 4, and then you have a final analysis here that's over this poem and all 3 poems here. So get through some of that, what you have questions with. Let's go through that and just take a look at that next week. Does that sound cool with you guys?
Yeah.
Just make sure you get through sympathy. So those 3 poems, this empty stomach, sympathy, and caged bird. And then you might take a look at this, and then we'll take a look at these next week.